What is going on, Niner faithful? I'm waiting for Nick Bosa to get paid, just like everybody else. How are we feeling, man? We need to get Nick Bosa paid, and we need to get him paid ASAP. I don't know. We're gonna talk about Nick Bosa. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the last couple of days. Haven't talked to you in a few days on YouTube, so let's get it. Let's get to it. We're not gonna sleep, says Miguel. I don't think we're gonna sleep. I think this could be one of those nights where we got to stay up. We might have to stay up. I got work in the morning, but it is what it is. No new updates. Well, let's talk about it. Boom Shakalaka Raj, the Chief Raka. Oh, I remember them. Who sang that song? I used to remember that. Oh man, I can't. Guru, Chief Raka. I'm Chief Raka, the number one Chief Raka. Let's get to it. Let's get to the 49ers stuff, the stuff that you guys want to talk about. So earlier today, NBC Authentic aggregated a story from Albert Breer, and he said, so this was what he said. He says, Nick Bosa and the 49ers reportedly have a $4 million per year gap in contract expectations, that they're kind of $4 million per year out of the work. That's what the article said, right? It says the difference between the two is less than $4 million per year. It says per Sports Illustrated senior NFL reporter Albert Breer. He also reported that the 49ers and Nick Bosa's camp have been trying to bridge that gap for a while, right? That's what they've been saying. He did come out and he did tweet and try to clarify it, because I think there was a lot of confusion um, based on that tweet and based on that report. He said it was an analysis. So he says that, just to clarify, I'm not reporting that there's a $4 million difference in negotiations. He says that the analysis in my mailbag, he had like a questionnaire, and he says the question is whether or not he becomes the highest paid edge rusher or the highest paid defender. So they're like hashing between if he's the highest paid edge rusher versus the highest paid defender. That's a difference of $4 million a year. That's kind of where they're debating. It's not that they're not set on his total price because of $4 million. They're saying that there's a difference in, are they going to pay him highest paid defensive player or highest paid edge rusher? So then it becomes like a little bit of a battle of where do you prioritize Nick Bosa? Is he the best edge rusher? Absolutely. Is he the best defensive player in the NFL? Well, he won the Defensive Player of the Year. I think you can make the case, and I think that's what Nick Bosa's agent. This is me thinking. Nick Bosa's agent probably thinks he's the best Defensive Player in the Year. So obviously, you need to pay him like the best defensive player in the NFL. So let's get to it. Lords of the Underground, Randy. That's who it was. One of the best Irvis. I remember that song. I remember Lords of Low Tug, Lotug, Low Tug. That's what I remember though. I remember back in the day, my brother-in-law got me into them. Low Tug, Lords of the Underground. I couldn't remember who sang that song. That would have bothered me all night. Appreciate that. We're not talking about music. I just had to get that. I saw the comment and I had to get it. But anyways, back to the Bosa stuff. So again, are they going to pay him the highest paid? Are they going to pay him the highest paid edge rusher, defensive player? Basically, if he becomes the highest paid defensive player, he might end up becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. He's basically going to get quarterback money regardless. I mean, $30 million is just kind of where they're hedging right now. That's what people are thinking. Tonight, Josina Anderson, if you guys know who Josina Anderson, she tweeted, this is what she said. She said, it's great to be Nick Bosa, entering the Labor Day holiday weekend now and coming out of it $30 million plus a year richer soon enough. So she's expecting him to be getting a contract of at least $30 million. She was guessing. It's just her analysis, her guess. She says, will his brother Joey's percentage increase over Myles Garrett's contract be the minimum increase over Aaron Donald's with the same agent? $34 to $35 million a year, annual per year. Time will tell. So that's what her, if you kind of read the tea leaves, Josina Anderson is thinking that the amount of percentage Joey Bosa had over Myles Garrett a couple of years ago when he, had his contract extension, she thinks that's kind of where Nick Bosa his percentage over Aaron Donald's going to be. And that would leave him to be about $34 to $35 million in a year annually. That's kind of where this number is at. It's basically, people are thinking when this whole thing started, he was going to get 30 million. Now people are saying it might be closer to 34, 35. That's kind of where Nick Bosa's agent's at. She did also mention in that tweet. She also tweeted a comment in that tweet that she says, "I'm expressing that Nick can chill." She's basically saying he can chill because he knows it'll get done, and that's a good feeling. So she's saying Nick can just relax. The deal's gonna get done. She's also laying. She says she's also laying the groundwork for my opinion on what his contract value range should be. So she's saying it should probably be in the 34 to 35 million dollar a year range, right? Based on the history of deals at his position, top non QBs and of his negotiator, his agent. So basically, you have to factor who his agent is. He's tough. You have to factor the history of the deals at his position, non-quarterback, defensive end, right? Where's the money? It's gone from like $30 million, slowly increasing. So now she thinks the market is set at about 34 to 35 million dollars. That's where she thinks he's gonna get, right? That's where it's gonna be. Giant Snyder fan. The guaranteed money is the holdup. He has a bad knee. Nick, listen, let's talk. Let's stop talking about Nick Bosa's bad knee. Everybody says this. He had an ACL tear. Okay, a couple years back. He played on the most disgusting turf in the world. You know how many people got injured on that game? Pretty much the whole Niner team. So let's not sit here and say he has a bad knee, because he doesn't. This man, when he's played a full season, he's won Defensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. The guy is insane. He had a torn ACL. I get it. He had an injury in college. Doesn't define him. The guy's a beast. He's put himself in top like peak physical shape. He doesn't have bad knee. The guy is a monster. He just won Defensive Player of the Year. So that's all I gotta say about that. The guy's close to making $34 million a year annually. That's it. Bottom line. Bottom line. And I'm ready for it. I'm ready for this. 49ers fan says, pay the bear. Debbie says, no sleep tonight. Russell says, didn't Kittle say sign him to a 20-year deal? He said it a couple years back. He says, sign him to a 20-year deal. He drafted a cheat code. Like in his rookie season, the Carolina game. After that game, the guy was like sacking everybody, had an interception, almost had a pick six, and George Kittle was on the sideline. Bosa, sign him to a 20-year deal. They should have signed him to a 20-year deal. They really should have. They should have. Bosa better rack up 20 sacks. He could. Mario, let's get to this real quick. I want to get this question out of the way because I want to continue to talk about Nick Bosa. Mario says, is it true George Kittle might miss week 1? He could. I've heard that his groin injury has not improved. It's still keeping him out, of practice. He didn't really practice this week because of a groin injury. But George Kittle's tough. We'll see how it goes next week. We got a whole another week. Right now, the biggest issue is making sure Nick Bosa is paying his money. 34, 35 million a year. I'm pretty sure that's the range. I've heard this number thrown around before. Josina Anderson threw that number out tonight. She's pretty plugged in. So 20 plus sacks for Bosa. It could be. And you know what? Once he gets paid, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to perform. But I think he's ready to roll. You got Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa. It's going to be crazy with those two. It's going to be on site. It's going to be on site with those two guys. Like the amount of pressure those two guys can get together is going to be crazy. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is Nick Bosa worth $34 to $35 million a year? I absolutely think so. What's up, Dash? Darren says, click the like button for my boy Raj. Appreciate you. Hit that like button. We need to get a GoFundMe started for Nick Bosa. That's the way I feel. I feel like we should get a GoFundMe started for Nick Bosa. Although I'm sure they're going to get it taken care of. John Lynch says, they're trying. The negotiations are tough. He's been sitting there saying that every single day. The negotiations are tough. We're trying. Kyle Shanahan said the other day, I hope he's at practice. Listen, I hope he's at practice too. When Kyle Shanahan says, I hope he's at practice, I was like, you hope he is? You hope he's at practice? You better hope you pay him, because if you don't pay him, he might not be at practice. I've heard different people say different things. A lot of people are worried he's not going to be there for week 1, right? Imagine he's not there for week 1. I mean, you can't. You got to have the Defensive Player of the Year on your team. He's worth every penny. Russell says, I can pitch in. If you can pitch in for $4 million, let me know. You might have to throw me a couple dollars. HR, look, you can't be throwing the bad juju around, man. He says Bosa will pull a hamstring as soon as he returns. Why would you want that? Why would you say that? I can't. You can't say that stuff. Nick Bosa, I'm sure. This is the thing. I think Nick Bosa keeps himself in absolutely incredible shape. I'm sure he's ready to roll. I do want to see him in practice. The players need him. They need that morale. They need the Nick Bosa morale, right? They need the Nick Bosa morale in there. I think once he's in that locker room, it's just going to change how everybody feels. It's going to be like, oh man, Nick Bosa is here. Let's go. And he's got this aura, this presence around him. He's like a star player. When you're around a star player, you can just feel that energy. You need the Nick Bosas in your locker room. You need them. These young players, they haven't even seen Nick Bosa. These rookies, they haven't even seen Nick Bosa. Like they've seen Fred Warner, they've seen CMC, they've seen Kittle, they've seen those guys. But Nick Bosa is larger than life. They need to see a Nick Bosa. This guy is a multi-level super. He's a megastar. He's a megastar. You got to have Nick Bosa there. Jay Cut says, when are they announcing captains? Usually this week. This week they should be announcing captains. Obviously they usually announce them a couple days before that first game. So usually they'll get those captains. What do you guys think? Who do you think should be captain? Should Nick Bosa be a captain? I saw a lot of people say he shouldn't be a captain. I've seen a lot of people kind of turning on Nick. And this is one thing I was a little irritated today when those, when the news came out, reports, whatever you will, came out, when Albert Breer's, news circulated today saying that there's the $4 million divide, whatnot. And then he had to clarify his thoughts because I think he was getting dragged and people were kind of reading it the wrong way. Again, he did say that it's more in terms of being highest paid edge rusher and highest paid defensive player, which could be a difference in 4 years. He's not saying that there's a $4 million difference in negotiations total for the team. So when all that news came out, I feel like a lot of people were thinking Nick is greedy, he's stingy, he's a diva. I saw a lot of that going on today, these last few days. And see, it's not even on Nick. It's the agent. It's the agent that's driving the boat, man. The agent is the guy controlling this. If you remember a couple of months ago, Nick Bosa even said, I'm not going to take care of my contract. It's the agent. I'm going to have my agent do the job. It's it. He's paying his agent. His agent has a job to do, and he's the one driving the ship. And I feel like Nick's getting a bad rep out of this. Now, I get it. His brother did the same thing a few years ago. Literally 2 years ago, his brother did the same thing. But again, it's the agent. His agent is tough, man. He's got the same agent as Joe Burrow. That guy's rough, man. He is nails. He will not let go with his like he's gonna stand firm. That's it. And I feel a lot of people are hating on Nick for this. Again, Debo got hated on last year. His was a whole different situation. But again, these guys need to get paid, man. If you're in their shoes, you're gonna do whatever you can to get your money in a negotiation situation. The 49ers are in a negotiation situation. They're going to want to pay him less. The player and the agent want to get more. You guys work. You always try to get your maximum amount. You're not going to settle for less. If you look around and you have a job offer and they're going to pay you X amount of money, but your job's only going to pay you Y amount of money, and Y is less than X, you're probably going to push to get X. And you're going to tell them, look, this is how much I can get. And if not, I'm going to leave to go to get X amount of money. Like, this is just negotiation, man. I hope they sign him soon so you can deload. I'm always on the grind. We always got to push. We always busy. But it is kind of stressful having to always be on the prowl, always have to look, always have to be ready, stay ready. It's tough. I'm ready for him to sign for my own mental health. I'm sure everybody wants him to sign because it's like getting to the point where it's like, man, is he going to sign? It's frustrating for the fan base. I know it. It's frustrating for me. I want to go to sleep. I want to just enjoy the rest of the week. Give the man his bag. Everybody forgets this man was D-boy. People are forgetting, man. People are forgetting T-Money. Martin says they didn't hesitate to pay D4, but they're hesitating over some money for Bosa. Yeah, D4, they didn't have a trouble paying Nick Bosa or D4. Let's see, HR. Liz, I'm not leaving for 10% more. I'm happy where I'm at. Would rather have better coworkers than squeeze my employee for every dollar. Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own situation. I mean, sometimes if you're good, if you're comfortable and you have a great workplace, a good work life and balance, that's important too. So it's not always about the money. Depends where you live too. There's a lot of factors too, obviously. But you got to remember, Nick Bosa getting taxed in the state of California, man. Even if you're just making $34 million a year, I mean, the tax on that is crazy. And that's the thing. Like, you're right though. Coworkers, A good work environment and good work-life balance, those things also matter. Nick Bosa is a professional football player, so you already know the work-life balance, but he has to put in a lot of effort over the offseason, train and grind, and he's expected to be the best of the best, and as he should. If you're getting paid that much money, you should. So, I mean, I see where you're coming from in terms of you're not going to leave for more money if you have a comfortable job, but some people, man, that's not their case. They have to grind, and sometimes every dollar counts for them. So, it depends on the situation. Appreciate you, Russell. Randy says, so who can take Nick's contract? Anyone? You know what? I don't even know if there's any teams that can afford that. That's the thing. And if he can go to another team, what teams are available to pay him? I'm sure teams can figure out the salary cap and make it work, or whatever the case is. But that's a good question. Who the heck can sign Nick Bosa if the 49ers can't? So then you come into a power struggle. You come into a holdout, and you have to just keep holding out till you figure it out. A couple of years ago, maybe not a couple years ago, over a decade ago, the biggest holdout that I can remember for the 49ers was Michael Crabtree. You guys remember Michael Crabtree, Texas Tech? My man, Mike Crab, Killer Crab, King Crab. You remember him? Rookie season. This guy was a rookie wide receiver. Rookie wide receiver. The boy held out. Training camp, he didn't show up. He had one of the longest holdouts in NFL history. He almost broke the record. This guy was holding out until I think it was like August 29th. It was like right before Labor Day. It was Labor Day weekend, and nobody thought this guy was showing up. He held out and got a bigger contract. He set the market for a rookie. Like, he set the precedent for rookies, man. He was setting out, man. He held out. He didn't go to preseason. He didn't go to training camp. It was crazy. I remember that year. That was one of the craziest holdouts I've ever remembered. And that was with the 49ers. And this guy was a rookie. It was crazy. HR said, D'Amico will take him in Texans with the Texans. Oh, yeah, D'Amico will be all over. If D'Amico could get him, he would get D'Amico or Robert Salah, but I don't think Salah has the money. If D'Amico could get him, he would take him. Adrian says the Niners' defensive line without Bosa is tread. The defensive line is definitely very, very, very different without Nick Bosa. The quality of those players, the way that this team can line up and put pressure on someone with Nick Bosa is drastically different when he's not there. Him and Hargrave are going to go and crush people. Like, they can put on so much pressure. They're going to open up lanes for everybody else, Armstead and Jackson and Farrell. You take away Nick Bosa, the edge rushers to me are not scary. No disrespect to Drake Jackson, who I think can have a better year this year. Clellan Farrell, he's a number 4 pick in the NFL draft. Does he have 10 sacks in the NFL in his career? I think that's about it. He has, 10 sacks in his whole entire career. He's a number 4 pick. I mean, you're going to bank on those two guys without Bosa. They're going to get it done. The Niners want him paid. Nick Bosa wants to get paid. Whew. Bosa on the Texans, they're always on offense. Oh, man. The Bosa's, Dude says the Bosa's always play hardball with their contracts. 49ers should have anticipated this. He's not like other star players. That's a great point. Like we said, Joey Bosa did the same thing. He played such hardball. He signed August 29th. He signed so in terms of where Nick signed and his brother signed, we're a few days past where his brother would have signed a couple years back. But you're absolutely right. He did the same thing, sat out, and it was a tense situation. They did get it done. And I think the 49ers will get this done. But again, it just doesn't sit well. I think Deb says it right. She says, I want to get past this. My stomach can't handle this. I feel like a lot of fans are just over it. It's drama. And it's like everybody's posting about, but I honestly, I hate when it's like this. When Kittle did this, and then Debo, and Fred Warner to an extent, Trent Williams, it was pay Trent Williams, pay Debo, pay, and we have to sit here and we have to worry about all this. I hate when we have to go this. And it's like Nick Bosa watch. Is the contract going to get done? Is the contract going to get done? Like, in our heart of hearts, in our deep inside, we know it's going to get done. Like, there's no way that they can get rid of Nick Bosa or not pay him. But it's happened in the past, like DeForest Buckner. I sat there and I could have sat there and looked you in the face and said, there's no way DeForest Buckner gets traded. And boom, they went. Again, a different situation, but you just never, ever, ever know. Like, who knows? Who knows? What if some team calls and says, hey, look, man, we'll give you 4 first-round picks for Nick Bosa. I'm sure that's not going to happen. I'm sure they're not going to do anything, but you just absolutely never know. So as a fan, it is a little unsettling. You want to get it done. You want to see this team pay the man. You know what I mean? Got Russ says the drama already is ridiculous. It really is. Thomas says pay Nick Bosa, pay the man. Randy says keep Bosa. You don't get other players. 3 to be exact. Bash says he'll take the 4 firsts. I mean, that's what it's gonna take, huh? HR says are the Niners cheap? I mean, it's tough to say if they're cheap because they have some of the highest paid players on their payroll. Like they have a lot of players that set the market. I think what they do is in these negotiations, they know they're going to pay these guys, but they try to go and lowball. They try to play frugal ball. They say maybe we can dupe them, but in the end, they always get to what the player needs. But it's a lot of incentive base. It's a lot of backloading the contracts. Parag has a way of doing it. Like he tries to finesse the contracts. They try to save a little money here and there by moving some things, and there's contract languages to make it seem like he's getting paid a lot, but there's like outs to the contracts. There's so many outs they have to put in those contracts because I think ultimately, yeah, they might be a little cheap, but again, if you look at the roster and you just look at the amount of money they've paid some of these guys, I mean, again, Fred Warner, George Kittle, Trent Williams, Kyle Juszczyk, Debo Samuel, these guys are getting paid massive money. But then when you pay so many guys so much money, you're going to lose a couple players. Arik Armstead gets paid a lot of money. They didn't want to pay DeForest Buckner, so they ran the first round pick back for him. Next year we got Brandon Ayuk. So this Debo, or not the Debo, but the Bosa contract has a lot of bearings on next year on Brandon Ayuk. Like this contract with Nick Bosa is going to affect Brandon Ayuk next year. They're trying to do Bosa like they did Santa Clara, man. Parag sleeping in his office. I could see Parag just pulling all nighters, just slumped, just sleeping, waking up, taking some coffee. Oh God, we gotta grind the contract, take a nap, wake up, contract. I'm sure he is. I know for a fact Parag's working hard on this, but again, sometimes you just gotta speed up the process. And I know he likes to finesse. I know Parag likes to save a buck or two here and there, but at the end of the day, man, it's tough because you do have a lot of high paid players and they try to shift things around. It's a tough situation. Bargain bin like McNamara. They aren't cheap. They're just broke. That could be it too. Chris says 1 week out and he's still holding out. I don't think that's good. I don't care how good you are. There's a new coach, defensive scheme, maybe new guys, but not many new guys. That's a good point. They do have a new defensive scheme, Chris. They do have a new defensive scheme, and I know they're not going to change too much. Steve Wilkes says he's going to try to keep a lot of that similar, but there are some new things. There are some new stunts, some new, some new techniques. And they said there's some things. Steve Wilkes said this the other day. He says there's a few things that I think Bosa can do that we haven't really tried, and we want to get him out there. So yeah, ultimately he needs to be at practice. Ultimately he needs to go out there and meet his new defensive coordinator and at least shake his hand and say, "Oh, hi, I'm Nick Bosa, your best player on the defense. Let's figure out how we're going to dominate the league." I mean, yeah, to an extent, he needs to go out and practice and tell Steve Wilkes, "Yo, man, I'm here. Here's my helmet. Let's run it up. Let's get the number one defense." Wilkes is probably sweating. He's probably sweating. Might be maybe sweating a little if I'm Steve Wilkes. You got big shoes to fill. You're taking over D'Amico Ryans. He was a great defensive coordinator. Steve Wilkes, if you want to become a head coach and help the Niners get some compensatory picks, this defense has to be good. Giant says, "See, I don't know. I want to believe this is not true, but I can't argue it because a lot of times this happens." Giants Niners fan says, "Once Bosa gets his bag, he won't be the same." We've seen it before. It's true. It happens sometimes. I mean, Myles Garrett has been pretty damn good since he signed his contract. Did have some injuries. Joey Bosa has been good, except he did have a lot of injuries last year. So you never know, man. It's tough when the guy signs a big contract. Sometimes they're not always the same, and there's so much pressure. They're going to be looked on differently. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Nick Bosa. There's always going to be pressure on any player, but Nick Bosa, if he sets the market and gets $35 million a year, that just sounds crazy. $35 million a year, Emily. $35 million a year. That's a lot of money, she said. My daughter said that's a lot of money. Is that a lot of money?
Yeah, I want it.
You want that?
Yeah.
You want 30? My daughter says she wants $35 million a year. That's crazy money. That could change you. That could put a lot of pressure on you. Definitely. That's a lot of money. Whew. Kelvin says, I have a feeling Bosa's getting his bag tomorrow or Sunday. I hope you're right. That's a Labor Day magic. Duke says Bosa's pride themselves in their work ethic. They do, and that's why I'm not too worried about Nick Bosa coming back in shape. I know he's going to come back in shape, but but is he going to change Nick Bosa? Is it going to be? Is he going to be? Is he going to change him? I don't know. Alex says 9/7 Nick Bosa Day. Is he going to sign on September 7th, 9/7, and they'll make it Nick Bosa Day? Could you imagine the Niners wait until 9/7? I will not be well. That is Thursday. The Niners play a game on Sunday, the 10th. Then he'd have literally 2 days in between. I would be so unwell if they wait till 9/7 to make it 9/7 Bosa Day. That would be absolutely crazy to me. You never know. Crazier things have happened. 9/7? Could you imagine? They make us sweat all week. Monday, Labor Day, we don't get it. Tuesday, the 5th, they're at practice. No Nick Bosa. Wednesday, the 6th, they're at practice. No Nick Bosa. Thursday, oh, it's September 7th, 9/7. And Nick Bosa gets his money. And then Friday and Saturday, you prepare for the game and you play on Sunday. And you got to fly to Pittsburgh the next day after you get signed. That would be crazy. They gotta do it this weekend. They gotta get that paid this weekend. 9/7. My heart can't take it. My heart might explode if they wait till 9/7. Enrique says it needs to happen by Monday. I'm with you. It needs to happen by Labor Day. I can't do it. I can't wait another week. They got to get it taken care of. Russell says Bosa's gonna sign on game day, run out the locker room like Willis Reed. Can you imagine they wait and he gets like dropped in to the game or something like Matt Barrows said? He'd parachute him into the game, but I think he has to sign by the day before in order to play on the team. In order to be taken off the exempt list or the holdout list, he gets to sign a day before. So it'd be Saturday. They sign him Saturday. He flies from Fort Lauderdale into Pittsburgh. He'd have to go to Pittsburgh. Doesn't fly with the team. Flies from Florida to Pittsburgh. Shows up. Holds the boombox. I couldn't do it. The front office won't work on Labor Day weekend. Oh man, it might. Then 9/7 might be it. Banks are closed. That's true. That's true. Oh, now I'm stressed out even more. The banks are closed on Monday. They can't pay the man. They can't run his check on Monday. They gotta. It's crazy. This is the war. Oh man, that is an issue. That is definitely an issue. The 49ers, they can't run his check on Monday because it won't clear on Monday because the banks are closed because it is Labor Day. That is actually kind of crazy. Maybe they're looking for a rental Brinks trunk. I hope so, Russell. Venmo. Maybe they should Cash App. Venmo. Nick Bosa seems like a Cash App guy to me. I don't know about Venmo. Can you imagine? You know when you can look at people's Venmo and it shows you like the transaction history, and you're like casually, if you're like friends with Nick Bosa or you like follow his feed, his Venmo feed, and it says like $150 million deposited for a 49ers contract on Venmo. Could you imagine? You see that? You're like, what the fuck? You see the Venmo transaction? It's 150 million plus from 49ers contract extension. That would be crazy. That would be crazy. Y'all are crazy. That would be absolutely hilarious if they did that. That would be so funny. What do you guys think? It gets done tonight, tomorrow, Tuesday, something? I don't know. I think it gets done this weekend. I think they nick it. I think they just get it done, man. I think they're going to get it done this weekend. I have a good feeling. Let's be positive. Venmo going to take half. Oh yeah, that's right. When you when you put the cash in your account, there's that fee they take. Well, no, not if you do. If you make it wait 3 days or something, and you don't get like the instant cash, you'll get the full cash, but it takes like 3 to 5 business days. Martin says, I'm really going to have my fantasy football draft done before his contract, and we're doing it on Labor Day. That's crazy, me. Yeah, I got some fantasy drafts this Sunday. So hopefully Nick Bosa's contract signs before I get my drafts. Magic Beast says Nick Bosa is going to stop negotiation soon. I don't think he's going to stop. They're going to keep. I don't think that they're even going to stop or anything. I think they have their set price, and they're saying here's our numbers that'll make it work. And you got to have a range. You can't just be like one number. They got to have a range, and they say here's our window. Come into that window, bless you. Come into that window, and I think that once Parag inches into that window, that green area, they'll sign it. Right? Let's say his window is like 33.5 to 35 mil. I'm just making it up. And let's say they're at 32.8. They got to get to that magic number. Boom, once he hits that number, they're good. That's what I think. Mess around and find out. Could you imagine, Adrian, if the 49ers do mess around and find out? And I don't think that's going to happen. But I think that's the worry of every fan, right? That's the worry every fan has. Yeah, Bosa has the leverage in this. He has the leverage in this situation. We'll see. I mean, if you've followed the whole tea leaves, if you followed Lynch and Shanahan, they've been pretty steady on their take. They haven't changed. They want him to be here. He's a special player. They expect to get it done. They think he's going to play week 1. But again, I don't think they thought they were going to be dealing with this tough of an agent. I really don't. I really think that they felt whatever money they were going to offer, Nick's agent was just going to accept it, and everybody's going to be patting each other on the back, high-fiving each other. Everybody's going to be a millionaires boys club, and they're going to be happy and so fun. They're going to be drinking wine and eating cheese and all that stuff, and everybody's going to be happy. I don't think they realized they got a tough agent to deal with. So Mario says, I was hoping the Eagles versus Niners week 1. I'm kind of glad it's not week 1 right now. With all the drama they have, the Niners need to kind of settle themselves down a little. There's been a lot of drama in a very short amount of time in the last couple of weeks. It's been a lot. Kind of glad it's not the Eagles week 1. My man Ted says, let's trade Bosa for 4 first-round picks. 4 first-round picks would be kind of crazy if they were to do that. I mean, I love Nick Bosa, but do you take 4 first-round picks? Adrian, this is a good point. NFL is a business. NFL is not for long. Bosa is being smart, looking out for his investment. One injury from losing his career. Yeah, every player is one injury away from losing his career. So I agree with that. I know, again, going back to what I was talking about earlier in terms of everybody thinking Nick Bosa is like being a baby, being a diva, being greedy. I don't see that. Again, he's looking out for himself. That's why he has an agent. He's looking out for himself. Try to get top dollar, man. He was Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. 25 years old. He's the best defensive player in the NFL, man. Get that bread. Yeah, I agree, Jimmy. Your picks won't help you win now because this season, if the 49ers don't have Nick Bosa this season, there's no way they win a Super Bowl. That's my take. I'm going to stand on it 10 toes down. If the 49ers don't have Nick Bosa on their team this year, they're not winning a Super Bowl. Absolutely not. An Angel, yeah. I would take 4 fifth-round picks instead because the Niners don't do well in the first round. I hate to agree with you. If you look at the history, I mean, Nick Bosa, that was a smash pick. He's a can't-miss pick no matter what. Brandon Ayuk, they got lucky and traded and made that pick. Green Bay was stupid. Green Bay was about to take Brandon Ayuk, but, kind of worked in the Niners' favor. But look at everybody else. Solomon Thomas, Reuben Foster, all right? And Mike McGlinchey. You got Javon Kinlaw, you know? Has it been peaches for the 49ers first-round picks with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch? Would Burrow thrive under Shanny? Oh, Burrow would. Burrow's good. I like Burrow. I'm maybe biased. I think Joe Burrow's top 4 quarterback in the league. I like him. He's a winner. That guy's good. 40 fourth-round picks. What's up, throwback? My man, how we doing? We got 104 people in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button. How's everybody doing tonight? Real quick, before we get back to the Nick Bosa, shout out to Fresh Society. I don't know if you guys saw the shirt. Little Christian McCaffrey. It's a little, cartoon tee. Pretty cool shirt. Got the stitching on the side. Got some embroidery here. Yo, check it out. Everybody always asks where we get the gear. This is one of my new sponsors. We'll be posting some stuff on them. But if you live in California, if you live in San Jose, specifically Westfield Valley Field Mall, at the Valley View, the mall there? Is it Valley View? Where is it? What's it called? Valley Fair. There you go. My daughter had to check me. Valley Fair Mall. Sorry. The Valley Fair Mall. It's called Fresh Society. We got some really cool Niner gears there. So check it out. Fresh Society. Got rust. What's the deal with our kickers? We got a practice squad kicker this weekend, right? Mike Wright. He's on the practice squad. So basically, he's insurance. Jake Moody, Kyle Shanahan's optimistic. He says he's trending up. He's looking like he's going to be ready for week 1. But if he's not, and he's not healthy, they're not going to push him. They will start the practice squad guys. So we'll see how practice goes next week. Put them big boy pants and sign and pay Nick Bosa. Bottom line. Red Eye says all these guys are working out on O-lines for other teams. Maybe it's Shanny. And Shanny in terms of what? The quarterbacks? Circle back to that. I can't stop the live until Nick Bosa's. Oh, man. Can you imagine if we just streamed straight until Nick? If I didn't work, if I just could do that, if I could just stream like I wanted to, I would sit here and stream all day until Nick Bosa. I literally would. We would just stream like at 24. I don't know. I'd probably fall asleep at one point. I'd go make dinner, whatever I got to do, and stream until Nick Bosa gets. And if he gets paid, we go crazy. Magic says, are they waiting for the Chris Jones contract? You know what? I have filibuster. Yeah. I don't think so at this point. I know there was a lot of people saying they're waiting for Chris Jones so he can pay and then they can get more money than him because he'd set the market for defensive player. And then Nick Bosa. I really think what it comes down to is Nick Bosa's agent says, here's our number. Figure it out. Get to that number. That's what I think. Again, the agent's been pushing this, and I honestly think that the agent says, here is the number. Pay this man. And I'm sure the Niners, they offered him, and it wasn't what they wanted. That's literally what the situation that I feel has gone down. Nick Bosa, his agent, says, here's the number. Parag says, before he knew the number, Parag says, how about this? And they looked at it and laughed. And they says, here's our number. Figure it out. I honestly think that's how it's gone down. Yeah, Tej. Kicker's a pretty damn... Other than Nick Bosa, our kicker issue is pretty damn bad right now. It's pretty bad. Blood Moon says $34 million per year. Bosa could make $35 million on OnlyFans. I mean, if we're gonna be honest, people love Nick Bosa. That bro, all he has to do is throw a picture up there of his abs, just of his abs, like a couple picks, a couple thirst traps. If Nick Bosa posted a few thirst traps, he might make $35 million. That's a very, very true statement. Let's take a couple more questions. Appreciate you, Midwest Made. Adrian says, how do you feel about the Niners O-line? I like the starters, man. I'm not going to lie to you. The starters are really good. Starters are good, except, Colton Malkovich, as I like to call him. He's the X factor. I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure, right? He's taken over for Mike McGlinchey, and that was a very infamous player, a very scrutinized player on this team. And, his pass protection skills were not always what the fans wanted to see, and they weren't always great. He was a great run blocker, but he was a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, and he wasn't always necessarily playing like a top 10 pick. So at the end of the day, man, McKivitz is going to be under a massive spotlight. Now, if he plays great, great. If he plays bad, people are going to call him out because people are going to say, you should have drafted a right tackle. You should have put more emphasis on the tackle spot. And absolutely, I agree with that. So it's going to be interesting. I think the starters are good. I feel like they have a quality offensive line. But if there's injuries, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Team Money says, what's my opinion on Wilkes? I'm not too high on him right now. It's early, though. We haven't really seen the defense play at their full capacity with the starters and everything, with Nick Bosa and everything. I'm not going to really judge him right now because it's hard to gauge what it's going to be like on game days. But so far, I'm not too impressed with his signings, with how he has gone about in this free agency. Oliver, we all know Oliver is not looking too hot. But again, it's preseason. We'll see if he turns it around in the regular season. Miles Hartsfield, he didn't even make the final roster. And those were two guys that he was banging on the table to go and bring in free agency. One of them probably should have got cut, Oliver, who made the roster. And Miles Hartsfield didn't even make the final roster. So, I don't know. We'll see. His judgment of talent so far doesn't look the greatest. But the good thing is the 49ers have great talent on the roster. So, it is what it is, right? Oh, we'll see. Judgment's still out on Steve Wilkes. I think he can prove himself in the regular season. Has a great defense around him. So we'll see. Why can't people send me money on YouTube? Because YouTube didn't monetize me, man. It's unfortunate, but we still grind on YouTube. But that's probably why I don't grind as much as I used to, because I never got monetized. But we're still gonna push. We're still gonna try. Maybe one day I'll get monetized. But appreciate that. Appreciate those that do want to send the super chats and stuff. Hopefully soon. I put in a lot of work on this channel last year, but just never got monetized. There's too many creators, and it's hard to get past that first push because they say it's copyright because we're all talking about the same thing. We're all posting the same thing, so you get like the copyright flags and all that stuff. So a lot of red tape behind YouTube, but we keep pushing, man. I still got my Instagram. I go live on that, and Twitter and everything. So I'm gonna keep working. It's just tough because I gotta work a certain amount of hours to pay all the rent and everything out here. It's tough because if you want to be full time on YouTube or Instagram or social media, whatever the case is, you literally have to be able to be home all day and post and stuff, and it's tough. Can't do that. Drop some merch. I did have some merch last year. I'll probably have to sell some more. I probably didn't market it as much as I should have. And there's so much merch out there for 49. The thing is, out of all the teams, team pages, team creators, team content creators, like the 49ers have the most saturated market, man. It's crazy. And then the more you start, the more social medias you start, the more time you got to spend. It's not just like 5 minutes here and five. It does take a lot of time out of your day. And if you're working all week, it's not always easy to sit there and spend the time. Like I wish there was there's more content I want to post, but there's only so much hours in the day. So start a GoFundMe for me. No, I'm good, man. I mean, I got a good job. I'm not crying about that. So it is what it is. JC says, do you think we get a player like we did last year, like C-Mac, Christian McCaffrey in the midseason, basically? So we talked about this early in the offseason. The 49ers could make a midseason move. They've done it a few times, right? Emmanuel Sanders, Christian McCaffrey. Um, dude makes six figures. I mean, working hard out here. Working hard out here. Yeah, but you know what the thing is? Even if you make six figures in the Bay, it's like it's really nothing out here. I'm just saying that's how it is out here. Like it back in the day, you make 100K, it was like wow, you make 100K. But now it's like oh, you make 100K, that's not much. I mean, to in certain areas out here, but I'm sure if I lived in another place, my salary would be like crazy. You know, so just it's all relative. No doubt, Oscar. We trust. We love it. What was I gonna say? Do I think we're gonna get a player at midseason? So let's talk about that question. So it depends, right? It really depends on the salary cap because Nick Bosa is gonna really affect all their money. Right now, I think they have about $9 to $10 million salary cap. I'm not too sure how Nick's gonna affect the salary cap for this year. But again, it depends on how much money they have left. They always do like to save a little bit of money for the regular season in case there's injuries. And you know, the 49ers are not afraid to make moves if they have to. Last year was a massive move with Christian McCaffrey. Like I'm still processing that. That was crazy. I remember when we were live and we were like, holy crap, oh my God. So if they need someone, offensive line, if there's someone available and they know they can get them, and it's a guy that they feel like they want on their team, I'm sure they could. But it really depends on how the season's going. It really depends on the money. Because Christian McCaffrey, I think they knew eventually they're going to have to figure out the money and stuff. But there was such a it was like such an opportunity. They were like, we'll figure it out later. We'll make it work. But they had to. And they really didn't give up much. I know that there was a lot of draft picks involved, but they got most of those draft picks back with their compensatory picks. So you never know. Jake Cut says, you ever going to hop on Grant's show this season? If I'm always down. I always tell them, I'm always ready to go on anybody's live. So yeah, it's a good point. Red Eye says it's nothing with Cali taxes, inflation, real estate, etc. It sucks. Everyone in the Bay, San Francisco, Silicon Valley makes 150 to 200K. Yeah, exactly. Well, you can make that much money, and it's really not much out here because of the economy, the inflation, the state taxes, the amount of rent is over here. It's crazy how much like you can make yeah 150 to 200K in the Bay is like 100K anywhere else. It's like that big of a difference. It really is. It's crazy. So to do full time on social media, you have to make a pretty big bag. And that's the thing with Nick Bosa too. I'm sure he sees the money that he could potentially make in the state of California. And he's like, man, these taxes, they're gonna cut most like 34 million. And I know we're sitting here and you probably think he's penny pinching. 34 million is not 34 million in the Bay. It really isn't. The state tax hits you like a pound of bricks, man. When I see my check, I'm like, the hell you take that? I was like, how much money did you? What did you do? What happened to my money? It's crazy. I'm just like, oh my god, stressing me sometimes. The amount of money they take out of those taxes it's balderdash. That's a good word for it. Crazy. It's expensive. So, there was something, I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was Cam Inman. He said something where, like, if there's a certain point where he stays in Florida and then signs his contract, I don't think he gets taxed as a resident in California. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But there is some loophole I feel like Nick Bosa can do to avoid paying the state tax. And if I'm him, if I got to wait a couple days, dude, I'm waiting. I would rather get taxed in the state of Florida than the state of California. If he's able to do that, 100% I would do it. That's why free agents don't come to SF. A lot of them don't. It's absolutely mind-boggling the taxes they're going to get. Russell says I turned down a job offer in California because of the taxes. Did you see what I'm saying? Like I'm sure players have turned down contracts to come to the Bay because of the taxes. Saul Goodman type of loophole. Yeah, we gotta better call Saul. My man Vish. I love Vish. Vish is cool. Red Eye. I like Vish. He's a good dude. Vish. I like all the people. I don't hate them all. I know I'm sure there's people that people don't like on content creators, but it is what it is. I respect them all because I know how hard it is doing it. So 18 million, 10% equals 1.8. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy how much money you lose. So I'm sure that's something that Nick Bosa is also, considering is the taxes. So I'm sure we will get some news soon. I hope he gets paid like ASAP. HR says my job asked me to get a different address outside of the Bay. See, that's smart. So if you claim that your address is outside of the Bay, if you're not a resident, did they not tax you? State tax? That's a good question. Let me know. Yeah, Cali tax is 13.84 on top of the federal. It's like 20%. Crazy. Blood Moon says Saturday morning. I hope so. I'm gonna wake up, drive to work, hype. Crazy amount of money they're taking from Nick. Let's do 2 more questions. I'm gonna bounce out of here. Been a good chat here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Always appreciate y'all. Make sure you hit that like button. Blood Moon Saturday. I hope it's tomorrow morning. I can't wait much longer. I hope it's not like a midnight, 1 o'clock type thing. I need some sleep. Looking at Nevada, working remote. Nevada, man. I used to live in Nevada. Make sure you like and subscribe. Says Bash. Yeah, Nevada, man. State tax doesn't exist. Tax is nothing out there. It's cheap living. Will Bosa start here next week? Says Lifted Mike. We all hope so, man. We're all praying. We're all hoping that Nick Bosa signs and he can be ready to roll in a week. We got a game a week from Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. And the best player on the 49ers has not reported to the team. Let's see. Blood Moose says, anybody else been refreshing all day? Dude, all day. I've been like, it was hard to focus today at work. It was very hard. And when I have to put my phone away, sometimes I'm like stressing. I'm like, oh God, please tell me that nobody signed. Please tell me that Nick. I'm like stressing, and I get back to my phone, and then I'm a little disappointed when I check my phone and I don't see the notif. I'm like, news could have dropped. They waiting for me though. Can I breakdance when Nick Bosa signs? Raj the refresher. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I should. If Nick Bosa signs, we busting out the break. We get that calls for breakdancing. We'll breakdance. We'll put the Bosa jersey on. We'll put the Bosa jersey on, and we'll breakdance. 97. They need to sign him already. You sign this man. Run that check. Run him my money. Run him that money. I wish I could pay him myself, but I live in the Bay. Can't do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have a good rest of your night. It's getting late. 9:22 on the West Coast. It's midnight in the East Coast. Shout out to the East Coast folks that stayed up. I love y'all. We'll be back. I know I wasn't live yesterday. It was a very busy day, so I didn't get a chance. And I was doing some stuff with Fresh Society. So I'll make sure I'm live every day as much as I can be. I appreciate y'all. You guys have a good rest of your night. And let's hope and pray the 49ers pay Nick Bosa. Do I have an Ayuk jersey? I do. Let's make sure they pay Nick Bosa, baby. Sign that man to a 20-year deal right now. Love y'all. Have a good night.